The NFL is a business. We hear that time and time again. And part of these guys' jobs, along with preparing for the game, staying healthy, and reviewing film, is for them to make sure that they stay in shape. You know, hit the gym, run a couple of extra laps at practice, the whole deal. But shockingly, that ends up being more challenging than you might think, because we have seen some players who have all the talent in the world and might have been stars, if only they could have stayed in or gotten into shape. Let's take a look back through the years at 10 of the most talented NFL players who just couldn't stay in shape. No better place to start here than with one of the modern NFL's favorite punchlines, the Carolina Panthers' first-round pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, Kelvin Benjamin. There was a lot of excitement about Benjamin when the Panthers took him out of Florida State. He had a healthy 6'5" frame that made NFL scouts salivate when they envisioned him using that 32-inch vertical to go up over the top of defensive backs and catch goal line fades. The Panthers needed Benjamin to be a big contributor right away. Early on, things looked promising for Benjamin and the Panthers. During his debut performance, he recorded 6 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown, joining a surprisingly prestigious group of first-round wideouts who caught a touchdown in their first NFL game, which includes the likes of Randy Moss, A.J. Green, and others. Not bad company to be in. Benjamin went on to catch 73 passes for over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. All 3 of those marks were franchise rookie records. Unfortunately, Benjamin suffered a knee injury the following preseason that cost him the entire year, and from that point on, the metamorphosis seemed unstoppable. Year after year, he put on more weight until people started to wonder if an NFL team should just move him to tight end and see if he could put his hands to use there. They just happened to overlook the fact that you actually need to be strong to play tight end in the NFL, not just overweight. While the injury clearly played a role in the way that Kelvin Benjamin fell out of shape, that is not always the case. We have seen some guys, even former All-Pros, that have apparently just succumbed to the same beast that gets so many of us average Joes, sheer laziness. And there may be no better example of this than the infamous Albert Haynesworth. Haynesworth, like Benjamin, was a first-round pick. He played his college ball at the University of Tennessee, so it seemed like a match made in heaven when he was taken by the Tennessee Titans. And considering his freakish pre-draft measurables, like a 39-inch vertical and a 4.82 40-yard dash, that is 6'6" and 317-pound frame delivered, the Titans fans were excited about the addition. Over the first few years of his career, he ran into a few disciplinary issues, but it was clear that he was developing into a star, as evidenced by the back-to-back first-team All-Pros he earned in 2007 and 2008. That, however, was around the same time his career went off the rails, perhaps uncoincidentally coinciding with the 7-year, $100 million contract he signed with Washington the following offseason. This marriage was doomed pretty much from the jump. He refused to participate in the team's offseason workouts and then showed up to training camp in such poor physical condition that he was unable to pass a basic fitness test. A trend that we would see repeat itself through the remaining years of Haynesworth's underwhelming NFL career. Even when Bill Belichick rolled the dice on him, he quickly realized that the defensive tackle was utterly unwilling or unable to get back into the peak condition that was required for him to perform at the NFL level, which is a shame because Haynesworth was truly an elite athlete at his peak, who could have been a generational type of talent on the interior defensive line. He is far from the only naturally gifted guy on this list to let their weight get the best of them. Remember Eddie Lacy, the Husky running back who played the bulk of his career for the Green Bay Packers? Lacy was bulky when he came into the league, weighing in at over 230 pounds despite standing at only 5'11". But the second-round pick out of Alabama quickly showed everyone what all the hype was about. Each of his first 2 seasons, he went for over 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns. This led him to not only earning a trip to the Pro Bowl, but also an All-Pro selection. Pretty good for a guy that was rapidly starting to look more and more like a fullback than a running back. Unfortunately for Lacy, the Packers, and the Cheeseheads, the running back did not age gracefully. As time went by, the weight continued to stick to him, and his performance started to dip. In his 3rd season in 2015, he ran for just 758 yards. He followed that up by playing in only 5 games for the Pack in 2016, 9 games for Seattle in 2017, and he was out of the league after that. It got so bad during his time in Seattle that they actually added bonuses to his contract should he meet certain weight goals throughout the year. Needless to say, he did not cash in on that opportunity and was out of the league the following offseason. This is pretty similar to what we saw take place with another epic power running back, Reggie Bush's former running mate at USC, Lendale White. White, like Lacy, had a storied collegiate career, and he was also a second-round pick, in this case from the 2006 NFL Draft. And like Lacy, perhaps even more so, weight was a concern when he entered the NFL. In fact, the media absolutely denigrated White for his performance and appearance at the NFL Combine. Stories circulated that there were literally audible groans when he took his shirt off at the weigh-in. ESPN's fantasy-focused podcast referred to him as Big Fat Lendale White. Another deigned him the nickname Lendale White. That's way too harsh. It got so ugly that apparently one NFL general manager said after seeing White at the Combine, the guy needed a bra. It was ridiculous. You come to the Combine looking like that and you want to be a first-round pick? Come on. The guy had obviously been doing nothing. Word started to spread that his work ethic had always held him back, even at USC, where he was a star in tandem with Bush. The guy can play, but he just gets by, said a former USC offensive player who was teammates with White. He coasted in practice and he coasted in the offseason. He came in thinking he just had to put in his time, and that's what you see now. But alas, White never really figured out the right balance at the NFL level, and he was out of the league after his rookie deal. It was eerily reminiscent of what we saw happen to Maurice Clarett, the former Ohio State star who never even touched the field in a regular season NFL game, despite winning a national championship as a freshman and being taken in the third round of the draft. Now, in Clarett's case, there were a number of issues at hand, including substance abuse, multiple arrests, and all of that, so his weight was only just part of it. All you need to know is that after he ran his 40-yard dash, scouts and media members were so shocked and disheartened by his performance that he started to be referred to as slow-mo, and when he did get to Broncos camp, he was near 250 pounds, more than 20 pounds overweight. And this is one of the most naturally talented kids football had ever seen. It's too bad that we were never able to see Clarett come to fruition at the NFL level. It isn't just the running backs that we have seen have these sorts of battles over the years. Another Tennessee Titan who was actually there at the same time as Lendale White also struggled with his weight as his career went on. Of course, we're talking about Vince Young. He went from being 6'5", 230 pounds with a 4.58 40-yard dash and one of the most exciting young players in the league to a rather irrelevant player in the NFL just like that, which I think is part of what frustrated his coach Jeff Fisher and led to the rift between him and the Titans. It was actually sad to see what happened with Vince Young. He seems like such a likable guy and he had all the talent in the world. He just couldn't put it together at the NFL level, and managing his weight was a huge factor in that. Donovan McNabb was another signal caller who was immensely talented, but struggled to find the right balance in terms of his nutrition and conditioning. Now, in McNabb's case, we are not talking about someone who could have been a star. Make no mistake about it, the six-time Pro Bowler was a bona fide star in the NFL. But he could have taken it to another level if he had this part of his life under lock and key. I mean, remember his infamous puking on the field during the Super Bowl incident? That truly was a black mark on his career resume. Think about how differently he would have been remembered if he had been in a little better shape and knocked Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots off their throne. Man, McNabb was great, but he really could have been a legendary figure in NFL history. Then we have the guys who, despite being massively talented, were so out of shape that they practically capsized their careers. Like Robert Nkemdiche, who was a first-round pick in the 2016 NFL Draft out of Ole Miss, and eventually a massive disappointment to the Arizona Cardinals, where he never really established himself as a player. He didn't even record his first sack until 2 years into his career, and all because this freakish athlete, who ran a 4.52 40 and power cleaned 335 pounds in high school, completely punted on his conditioning once he got the bag. This was overtly clear when the Dolphins picked him up off the scrap heap in 2019. It was reported that he couldn't even run a single gasser. Yikes, what a waste of talent. And finally, we have two guys on this list who, to their credit, actually did something about their situation. First, let's look at a former 4th overall pick to the Buffalo Bills offensive tackle, Mike Williams. Everyone knew that Williams was a big boy coming out of the University of Texas. Legend had it that back in his high school days, he was so big that his team didn't have shoulder pads that fit him. He was a star for Mack Brown in Austin, but unfortunately the same could not be said about his time in the NFL, where it got bad enough that he was chased out of the league in 4 years. Williams did try to launch a comeback with Washington in 2009, but when he got signed, he weighed close to 410 pounds. He did lose nearly 70 pounds and made his way back onto the field, but he was never the impact player that anybody expected him to be. Same story with former Cincinnati Bengals offensive lineman Andre Smith. Smith deserves credit for the work that he put in. It's just a shame that he didn't do it a little bit sooner, as the former 6th overall pick out of Tuscaloosa could have really been one of the most dominant linemen in NFL history. But instead, his NFL career started off on rocky footing as a 6'4", 340-pounder showed up to the Combine way overweight, and he underperformed as a result. It wasn't until 2015 or so, sort of the midway point of his up and down career, that Smith really started to understand the work that was required to properly maintain peak condition. He felt his improved maturity is what helped him. "When I've been injured, I've come back overweight. I'm not the same Dre," Smith said via Bengals.com. I'm more mature, I'm older, it's just my age. Good on him for getting it together. It's a shame that he had to have a challenging first few seasons, though, and live through that harrowing combine experience to make it to this point. But hey, better late than never. Which other talented NFL players just could never seem to get in shape? Did we miss anyone? Join us in the comment section down below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton and we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.